Hello, I'm Penny and I've been demonstrating some recipes that you're going to be cooking. You'll have your packs which you'll be picking up and the recipes will be there. But just to make it a bit easier and so you can see what we're going to be doing, I have done some videos for you to look at on YouTube so you can see what the end result's going to be. So today I'm making the chocolate cake. And this is what it's going to look like straight out the oven, just like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm taking the spread, and we need 3 tablespoons of this. So you'll all have a pot of margarine or non-dairy spread or something like that. And you'll do 3 tablespoons. That's 2 tablespoons. And 1 more tablespoon like that. It's a bit short there. So it's about 200 grams or 3 tablespoons. It depends on whether you've got scales. I wanted to make it as easy as possible so you can do it with spoons. It's quite fun to do it with spoons. So I'm just going to move that out of the way. And that's your butter. So then into that you're going to add 2 cups. A cup is like that, or it can be any cup, but I've got these American cups here, or English cups or whatever, but there's a cup. So we're going to give you, so we've got 2 cups of sugar. This is caster sugar. You'll have that in your bags as well. It's quite difficult to get it out of my big tub here. So there we are, that's my 2 cups of sugar, and we also need 2 cups of self-raising flour. Again, you will have your bag of flour, and you want 2 cups, fairly flat, not overflowing. So 1 of those and 2 of those, just like that. So we're just getting all the ingredients into the bowl. This is what we call a one-pot mix, so it's the easiest sort of. And then we've got 1 cup of drinking chocolate. Now drinking chocolate has quite a lot of sugar in it, so you might find you want to reduce the amount of sugar. Oh, that went a little bit over the top, so we don't need quite as much as that. So there's your ingredients in the bowl. The only other thing we still need to do, which we'll do in a minute, I need to just boil my kettle. We will put some boiling water in that. So you can mix that by hand, but I think you'll find that quite difficult. So I'm just going to start mixing it, just to get the butter mixed in a bit better with the flour. Otherwise you're going to find that as soon as we start beating with the mixer, it's going to go everywhere. So we're just going to keep mixing. This is quite fun. You possibly need a deeper bowl. I would normally do it in a deeper bowl, but I wanted to show you with a glass bowl so you can see what was going on. So I'm just sort of gradually working around the bowl, mixing in the butter. And you can sort of see it crumbling away there. I hope you can anyway. It's going to be quite difficult even with the mixer now to cream it. And that's because I've forgotten to put the eggs in. So I couldn't work out quite why this was as dry as it was. So 2 eggs in there. Now sometimes you might have to add an extra egg if they're a bit variable in size. So 1 of those was a little bit wee, but we'll see how we go with it. So this is now looking a bit better, but I think I'm going to put a bit more egg in. But we'll see. I think the next thing to do would be to get the mixer on. Save my old arms, and we'll see. Move everything out of the way so that you can see better. So very slowly. So let's just stop that. You can see how it's creaming away just with the mixer. Now my mixer is a very fast one. And as I'm doing it, I'm slightly turning the bowl, as you can see, rather than the mixer. And you can see how much quicker this is than doing it by hand. Now you can see it's getting quite thick. This is when we need to add the water. So we now need 2 to 3 tablespoons of hot water. So I've just boiled the kettle. And I've got my tablespoon here. So I'm going to put one in and do a bit of beating. Another one in. I think this is going to take the full 3 spoons, but we'll see. So you want it to be a bit thinner than that. It's not quite dropping down. So I'll put a half spoon in and we'll see how we go with that. I know if you're making it with the children, they'll get a bit impatient with it and want to throw everything in, but you do need to be a bit careful. You also don't want to overbeat. So you want to be able to move the mixer around. So you can see it's quite a soft texture there. So I've actually put the full 3 tablespoons in. I'm just going to shake these off. It's a bit of a mess and a bit of a noise. Maybe get mummy to do this bit, or dad, or a grandmother, or anybody else. Or you can just take a spatula and just do it like that. You don't want to waste anything because it's all carefully measured so that it will all fit in the baking tin very nicely. So that is your lovely chocolate cake. Now of course you don't have to make a loaf tin like I'm going to show you. You can make it into fairy cakes, or you can make it into a round cake, or you can make it into little dollops or whatever. So just washing my hands. Don't forget when you're in the kitchen to keep washing your hands. Don't lick your hands while you're working. Just make sure you've got everything clean and tidy, and put things away. If you've got the space, put things away as you're doing everything. So I've got my loaf tin here, and I've got one of these self-liners, so that's really, really easy. I just want to show you how to line a tin as well. So you take a piece of baking parchment, like this, and I'm just going to cut it down there, like that. And then I'm going to cut the edges in about 2-3 inches in, which is about 8 centimetres. And hopefully that will then slip into my tin. If it doesn't slip in, put a few more little notches in, like that, scissors. And you'll find that that will now sit quite nicely. So you can trim away a bit, because we don't want all this extra baking parchment flying around. Yeah. Not too bad now. You can just grease the tin, but you will find it's quite difficult to get it out of the tin. So I always advise using a liner or something like this. You can work on that to make that fit really well. I'm going to do that there. And then very carefully, here's my tin, here's my bowl, and very carefully I am going to use the spatula to fill my tin. And that's going to go in the oven 180 degrees for a good 30 to 40 minutes. Depends on how hot, and this is going to sound silly, how hot your oven is. Weirdly, although you might cook on 180 or gas 5, some people's gas 5 or 180 is hotter than others. Sometimes you might have a thermo-assisted or fan-assisted oven, so that will make your cake cook more evenly than some people's. Whereas with a gas cooker, I don't think they have things like that in a gas cooker, but I don't know because I don't use gas. You could, at a pinch, but obviously not using a metal tin, cook this in small quantities in a microwave, but it will come out tasting much more puddingy. So I don't really advise it unless you want little puddings, and you can cook those in cups. They're quite fun to have little cups, and they're really quick and instant pudding to have. You could have custard with it or ice cream, whatever. So there we have our cake ready to go in the oven. My oven's on, so I'm going to put it in the oven and put the timer on, and then I will show you later what it looks like. And then there's on the recipe, it tells you that you can put a frosting on the top, or just have it plain, or serve with fruit, or whatever. So if you can't wait for that, just eat it. Not quite straight out the oven because it would be too hot, but eat it. The children will love it. So I'm going to turn it out. Gently release it with a knife, like that. It should come out easily because we put the baking parchment in, but if it doesn't, just release it like that. Take the cake away. I'm going to remove the paper, like that. And so now there's no dip because we've turned it up the other way, and that's absolutely fine. So here I've got some chocolate icing. I've used the frosting ready bought, and I've just flavoured the vanilla frosting with some cocoa and drinking chocolate, a mixture of the two to make it nice and chocolatey. And you can just see that I'm just working it in now. It's a little bit thick, so because it's a little bit thick, I shall add a tiny drop of warm water, which is my kettle recently boiled. It's a bit too much. So just a tiny little bit, like half a tablespoon. And I'm just very gradually going to stir that in. If the children are doing it, just watch that you've got a big enough bowl so you don't get the icing over the whole of the kitchen. So that's the sort of consistency you want. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to just pour that on the top of the cake, like that. Just get it all out of the bowl. Just like that. And then just take my spatula and I'm just going to gently let it go over the top and let it drizzle down the sides. I'm not going to cover the whole of the sides, I'm just going to let it drizzle down. And just leave that to set for a little bit. And that is your lovely chocolate cake. And don't forget, you can make cupcakes with this, so if you want to do cupcakes, same topping, but you've got them, they're a little bit easier to manage. And that's the chocolate cake.